Most people are exhausted, not because life is heavy, but because they keep running away from themselves. They distract, they escape, they complain, and then they wonder why nothing feels stable inside. The truth is simple. You are the one person you cannot leave. So the real question is not how to change the world, but how to stay with yourself without getting tired. If you cannot sit with your own mind, your own habits, your own weaknesses, then no achievement will ever be enough. Strength begins the moment you stop looking for exits and start standing where you are. Never get tired of observing yourself. The mind wants comfort. The body wants ease. But growth wants discipline. When you feel resistance, it means you have reached the edge of your old limits. Do not run from that edge. Stay there. Breathe. Feel the discomfort. This is where character is built, not in motivation, not in excitement, but in quiet repetition and self-respect. Stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness is trained, not discovered. You train by showing up even when you are tired, even when you are bored, even when nobody is watching. Each time you do this, you tell yourself, I can be trusted. That trust is power. Without it, you will always depend on others to push you. With it, you move on your own. Train discipline before motivation is the cornerstone of lasting change. Yet most people look for motivation first and discipline later, and that is why they falter. Motivation is fleeting. It is a spark, a feeling, a temporary energy that comes and goes depending on circumstances, moods, or external events. Discipline, on the other hand, is the muscle you build when you choose to act, even when you do not feel like it. It is the quiet strength that carries you when motivation is absent, when life is heavy, and when distractions scream louder than your intentions. To train discipline before seeking motivation is to prepare yourself for life as it truly is, not as you wish it to be. Life will never wait until you feel inspired. It will demand action in spite of your exhaustion, in spite of your doubts, and in spite of your fears. That is why discipline must come first, because it does not depend on feelings. It depends on choices, on repetition, on showing up. When you train discipline, you start with small actions. Do not look for grand gestures or overnight transformation. Discipline grows in the moments no one notices. It grows when you choose to wake up early, even when your bed feels too warm. It grows when you decide to study, to write, to practice, or to train even when your energy is low. It grows when you complete tasks you do not want to complete, when you push through resistance, when you keep your word to yourself. Every act of consistency, no matter how small, compounds over time. It is like building a staircase inside your character, one step at a time, that eventually lifts you to places motivation alone could never reach. Motivation is unreliable because it waits for external conditions to be perfect. Discipline makes conditions irrelevant. The weather may be harsh, the world may be unfair, the mind may be tired, but discipline keeps you moving. To train discipline before motivation also means learning to sit with discomfort. Growth is never comfortable. The mind resists repetition, the body resists effort, and the heart resists sacrifice. You will want to quit. You will want to delay. You will want to find excuses. But discipline is choosing action over excuses. It is choosing the long-term reward over short-term pleasure. Every time you sit with discomfort and push through, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You build a trust in yourself that motivation cannot give. Motivation is temporary approval from the outside. Discipline is permanent approval from the inside. This trust becomes your foundation. It is the bedrock of confidence, of resilience, and of progress. Without discipline, motivation is like a candle in the wind, flickering and fading. With discipline, you become the wind and the candle both. You create momentum that cannot be stopped by fleeting feelings. Another part of training discipline is removing dependence on external factors. Many people think they need perfect timing, ideal circumstances, or inspirational energy to start. They wait for a signal from life that may never come. Discipline teaches you to start where you are, with what you have, and with how you feel right now. You do not wait for conditions. You create conditions. You do not wait for inspiration. You act, and inspiration follows. When you train discipline first, you become immune to excuses. You learn to operate even when life is inconvenient. You become self-reliant. You build a system inside yourself that produces results regardless of the mood of the moment or the approval of others. Training discipline before motivation also requires patience. It is not a race. It is a slow, deliberate accumulation of effort. Some days you will feel no progress. Some days the results will be invisible. Some days your energy will falter. But discipline thrives in the unseen. It grows when no one applauds, when no one notices, when you are simply doing what you promised yourself you would do. Over time, the smallest consistent actions build unstoppable momentum. You will find that once discipline is strong, motivation no longer controls you. You can feel tired, bored, or uninspired and still achieve what you set out to achieve. You can show up for yourself daily without needing an emotional push. That is freedom. That is strength. Finally, training discipline before motivation is about building identity. Motivation tells you what to do for a moment. Discipline tells you who you are over a lifetime. Every choice to act, every refusal to quit, every commitment kept strengthens your identity as someone capable, reliable, and resilient. You stop being a person who relies on moods and feelings. You become a person who relies on principles, habits, and self-trust. And that transformation is the gateway to all other achievements. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline carries you across the finish line. It is the difference between dreaming and accomplishing, between wishing and becoming. When you train discipline first, everything else falls into place naturally because you have already built the inner foundation that nothing can shake. Discipline before motivation is not easy. It requires persistence, self-awareness, and the courage to face your own weakness. But it is the most reliable path to success because it does not depend on temporary feelings or fleeting excitement. It depends only on your decision to act and your willingness to keep acting. Every step, every repetition, every small choice to stay consistent is a victory. And that victory compounds into a life that is strong, resilient, and unstoppable. Train discipline first. The rest will follow. Observing the mind without judgment is one of the most powerful practices you can develop, yet it is rarely taught or understood. Most people live inside their thoughts as if they were reality, reacting to every impulse, every emotion, every passing idea. The mind is constantly narrating, critiquing, doubting, and desiring, and we often mistake this noise for who we are. To stop getting tired of yourself, to stop being your own worst enemy, you must first learn to watch your mind without judgment. This does not mean ignoring it or suppressing it. It means stepping back, becoming the witness, and noticing what is happening inside you with quiet attention. When you observe without judgment, you create space between the self and the story. You see thoughts as thoughts, feelings as feelings, and impulses as impulses. They are not commands. They are not absolute truths. They are signals, and signals can be understood and guided, not blindly followed. Most people react instantly to their mind, either by indulging in desire, avoiding discomfort, or criticizing themselves for not being different. This reaction creates cycles of frustration, fatigue, and self-doubt. Observing without judgment interrupts this cycle. It allows you to notice patterns, triggers, and tendencies that were hidden in the rush of reaction. You begin to see when the mind is amplifying fear, when it is exaggerating failure, or when it is clinging to something irrelevant. This awareness is not about stopping the mind, it is about understanding it. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. Without it, discipline becomes mechanical, effort becomes heavy, and the journey of self-improvement feels like a battle. With it, every action becomes informed, every choice deliberate, and every moment an opportunity to refine yourself. The practice of observing without judgment also cultivates patience. The mind is restless. It wants answers immediately. It wants clarity instantly. It wants emotion to be tamed on demand. But the mind does not operate on our schedule. When you observe without judgment, you accept that thoughts and emotions will arise and pass in their own time. You allow yourself to feel frustration without condemning yourself. You allow sadness, doubt, or fear to exist without becoming consumed by them. This patience is essential because self-growth is slow. You are not rewiring decades of habits and beliefs in a day. You are learning to become steady in your own presence, to remain calm amid inner turbulence, and to continue acting in alignment with your values even when the mind resists. Observing without judgment is also a profound way to build self-trust. When you can watch your own mind clearly, without distortion, without shame, without reaction, you begin to understand your true capacities. You see the strength you were ignoring, the resilience that carried you through previous struggles, and the wisdom hidden beneath the noise. You also see the weaknesses without panic or self-hate. Weaknesses become data, not condemnation. Every habit, impulse, or emotional reaction becomes a signal that can be improved, adjusted, or redirected. This understanding builds confidence because you are no longer blindly following your moods or fears. You act with awareness, not reaction. You make decisions from clarity rather than chaos, and that clarity is an anchor in a world that constantly tries to pull you off balance. Another essential aspect of observing the mind without judgment is the reduction of inner conflict. So often, the fatigue people feel comes from fighting themselves, from labeling thoughts as bad, emotions as wrong, or actions as failures. This internal war drains energy, creates resentment toward oneself, and blocks progress. Observation without judgment ends this war. You stop labeling yourself harshly and start listening carefully. You notice what your mind wants, what your body needs, and what your situation demands. You respond with intelligence rather than emotion. You act with strategy rather than reaction. Over time, this leads to a sense of calm authority over your own life, because the source of most internal chaos, judgment, is no longer controlling your decisions. Finally, observing without judgment creates freedom. Most people are trapped in loops of thought, memory, and emotion that they believe define them. But when you watch without judgment, you realize that none of it defines you unless you let it. Thoughts are temporary. Emotions rise and fall. Impulses come and go. You are the observer, the witness, the steady presence beneath it all. This realization is liberating. It allows you to step into your life with a new sense of clarity, energy, and purpose. You are no longer tired of yourself because you are no longer entangled in self-criticism and reaction. You are present, aware, and in control of the direction you choose to move. Observing the mind without judgment is not a one-time effort. It is a lifelong practice, like tending a garden. Some days the mind will be calm and clear. Other days it will be stormy and chaotic. The goal is not to stop the storm, but to become the sky in which it passes. With consistent observation, patience, and awareness, the mind gradually becomes a tool rather than a master, and life becomes an opportunity rather than a struggle. Watch your mind, witness your thoughts, and treat them with understanding. This is where freedom begins. Staying consistent in small actions is the secret that separates those who achieve from those who only dream. People often look for big breakthroughs, sudden inspiration, or dramatic change, but life rarely works that way. Transformation is quiet. It grows in the details, in the repeated choices that most people overlook. Each small action, taken consistently, compounds over time into results that feel almost miraculous when you finally notice them. The mistake most people make is believing that effort must be grand to matter. They wait for motivation, for the perfect plan, for energy to surge, and in that waiting, precious time passes. Consistency in small actions is the antidote to waiting. It is the practice of showing up for yourself every day, regardless of how you feel, regardless of external circumstances, and regardless of progress. Small actions may seem insignificant at first. Drinking a glass of water in the morning, writing one paragraph of a book, walking for 15 minutes. These acts appear trivial, yet their cumulative effect is extraordinary. Each action sends a message to your mind and your body that you can be trusted. Each repetition strengthens your habits, your willpower, and your identity. This is how discipline is trained, how self-trust is built, and how momentum begins. The mind wants immediate rewards, instant validation, and dramatic results. But small, consistent actions teach patience, resilience, and long-term thinking. They prove that progress is not measured by excitement or emotion, but by fidelity to a practice over time. Consistency in small actions also trains your focus. When you commit to something daily, you learn to prioritize, to manage distractions, and to resist temptation. The mind will offer countless excuses. I am tired, I am busy, I am not in the mood. These excuses are designed to break momentum and pull you back into comfort. Small actions, taken consistently, teach the mind a new rhythm. They show the mind that effort does not depend on comfort. That momentum grows from action, not from inspiration. Over time, this rhythm becomes automatic. You no longer need to debate whether to act, because the habit itself has taken root. The energy that was once wasted on hesitation is now available for growth. Another important aspect of staying consistent in small actions is that it reduces overwhelm. People often fail because they focus on the enormity of the goal rather than the simplicity of the next step. They try to leap into achievement all at once, burning out in the process. Small, consistent actions break this illusion. They turn mountains into stepping stones, chaos into manageable pieces, and uncertainty into clarity. You begin to see that the journey is composed of manageable, repeatable steps. Each day you do a little, and eventually the little becomes significant. Each repeated choice is a brick in the foundation of your success. Consistency also strengthens resilience. Life is unpredictable. Motivation comes and goes. Distractions are constant. Energy fluctuates. If you rely on bursts of motivation, you will be at the mercy of circumstances. If you rely on consistent action, you become unshakable. When challenges arise, when fatigue hits, when failure knocks, the small daily habits carry you forward. They give you structure when chaos surrounds you, direction when doubt clouds your mind, and momentum when obstacles appear. This is why small, consistent actions are more powerful than sudden inspiration. They are steady, unyielding, and cumulative. They create a life that moves forward regardless of conditions. Staying consistent also reinforces identity. Every repeated action sends a message about who you are. When you consistently act with purpose, you begin to see yourself as someone reliable, disciplined, and capable. Identity is formed not by thoughts or desires, but by actions repeated over time. If you skip consistency, your identity remains fragile, dependent on moods or circumstances. If you honor consistency, your identity becomes strong, and strength begets further consistency. You are no longer battling yourself, you are working with the person you are becoming. Finally, small consistent actions teach humility and patience. You learn that change is rarely instant, that mastery is earned gradually, and that true growth is invisible at first. You begin to trust the process, to respect repetition, and to value the long term over immediate gratification. Each small action, repeated faithfully, becomes a signal of your commitment to yourself and to your growth. Over months and years, these actions accumulate into transformation that feels effortless in hindsight, but require discipline and presence in every moment. Focus on the smallest next step. Do it today. Do it tomorrow. Keep showing up. Keep building. Keep trusting the process. In the quiet repetition of small actions, greatness quietly forms. Building trust with yourself is one of the most overlooked yet essential elements of lasting growth and inner strength. Most people spend their lives seeking trust from others, looking for validation, reassurance, or approval from outside sources, and in the process, they forget the most critical relationship they will ever have, the one with themselves. Without this trust, motivation becomes unreliable, discipline feels heavy, and every decision is weighed down by doubt. Trusting yourself is not about perfection. It is not about never failing or never making mistakes. It is about creating a foundation where you can rely on your own choices, your own consistency, and your own judgment. When you build this trust, you stop exhausting yourself with inner conflict, second-guessing, and self-blame. You start acting from a place of confidence, clarity, and alignment. The first step in building trust with yourself is keeping your promises, even the small ones. Every time you say you will do something and follow through, no matter how minor it seems, you are telling yourself that you are reliable. Wake up when you said you would. Write that page, make that call, complete that task. Each fulfilled promise is a brick in the foundation of self-trust. When you repeatedly fail to keep promises to yourself, no amount of motivation can carry you forward, because the internal system of trust has been broken. But when you start small and honor your word consistently, you begin to feel a quiet confidence that carries into all areas of life. Trust grows slowly, quietly, and almost imperceptibly, but it compounds over time, creating a sense of inner stability that nothing external can shake. Another essential aspect of building trust with yourself is honesty. Many people deceive themselves about their habits, their effort, or their intentions. They tell themselves they are working hard when they are not. They promise change without action, or they minimize the truth about their struggles. Honesty is the antidote to this. When you see yourself clearly without excuses or illusions, you begin to understand what you can rely on and what you need to improve. This clarity creates a realistic path forward. Trust is built on knowing who you are and what you are capable of, not on illusions of who you wish to be. The more honest you are with yourself, the more dependable your actions become, and the stronger your self-trust grows. Consistency is another pillar of self-trust. Trust is not built in moments of excitement or inspiration. It is built in repetition, in showing up every day, especially when you do not feel like it. When life is difficult, when distractions call, when excuses tempt you, choosing to act anyway sends a powerful message to yourself. I am reliable. I can count on me. This reliability is what makes self-trust unshakable. It is not dependent on conditions or moods. It is not affected by setbacks or fatigue. It is strengthened each time you act in alignment with your values and intentions, even when it is uncomfortable or inconvenient. Building trust with yourself also requires compassion. Trust does not mean harshness. It does not mean beating yourself up for failures or shortcomings. It means observing honestly, learning from mistakes, and continuing forward with patience. Every person fails. Every person experiences doubt, distraction, or inconsistency. Trust grows not in the absence of failure, but in the way you respond to it. When you fail and choose reflection over self-criticism, when you choose action over stagnation, when you forgive yourself but also hold yourself accountable, trust strengthens. This balance of accountability and compassion creates a resilient inner foundation. Another crucial aspect of self-trust is following through on long-term commitments. Life is filled with temporary desires and fleeting emotions. Trusting yourself requires making choices that align with your deeper goals and values, even when the short-term path seems easier. It means resisting impulses that undermine your progress, choosing consistency over comfort, and honoring the long-term vision you have for yourself. Every step in this direction is a reinforcement of trust, proving to yourself that you can rely on your judgment and your integrity. Finally, building trust with yourself transforms how you live every day. Decisions become simpler, actions become more confident, and inner conflict diminishes. When you trust yourself, you no longer live in constant doubt. You no longer need to seek permission or validation from others. You act with clarity and conviction because you know that your own word, your own consistency, and your own wisdom are reliable. Trust becomes a source of energy rather than a burden. It allows you to face challenges, pursue goals, and endure difficulties without being exhausted by self-doubt or hesitation. Trusting yourself is not a one-time achievement. It is a lifelong practice of keeping promises, acting consistently, being honest, showing compassion, and honoring long-term commitments. Every choice to act in alignment with your own word strengthens this trust, creating a foundation of inner strength that cannot be shaken. Build trust with yourself. It is the first step toward freedom and the key to enduring growth. Turning discomfort into strength is one of the most transformative practices you can adopt, yet it is often misunderstood. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort, seeking comfort, and running from anything that challenges their mind or body. They think that ease equals progress, that happiness is found in convenience, and that growth happens when life feels smooth. But the truth is the exact opposite. Strength is forged in resistance. Character is built in tension. Comfort trains the body to relax, but discomfort trains the soul to endure. Every challenge you face, every moment of unease, and every internal struggle is an opportunity to convert weakness into power, fear into courage, and hesitation into action. Learning to embrace discomfort is learning to stop running from yourself and start standing fully in your life, no matter what arises. Discomfort appears in many forms. It is the fatigue you feel when pushing yourself beyond your usual limits, the fear that rises when you face uncertainty, the anxiety that surfaces when you step outside your comfort zone, and the doubt that whispers when you try something new. Most people react by retreating, by seeking escape, or by rationalizing avoidance. But each act of avoidance strengthens the very patterns that hold you back. Turning discomfort into strength means shifting perspective. Instead of seeing discomfort as an enemy, you see it as a signal, a message that growth is happening, that you are stretching, that your potential is expanding. When you feel resistance, it is not a sign to quit. It is a sign to engage, to learn, and to transform. The process begins with awareness. You must notice discomfort without immediately reacting to it. Observe it in your body, in your mind, and in your emotions. Where do you feel tension? What thoughts arise when you are challenged? How does your mind try to convince you to retreat? This awareness is the first step because it allows you to pause and choose your response. Most people are unconscious in discomfort. They react on autopilot, reinforcing fear, avoidance, and weakness. Conscious awareness turns discomfort into a teacher rather than a tyrant. It shows you what you need to confront, what you need to practice, and what you need to master within yourself. The next step is action. Awareness alone is not enough. Strength is built through repeated engagement with the uncomfortable. Every time you choose to act despite fatigue, doubt, or fear, you strengthen your capacity for resilience. You train your mind and body to respond to adversity with courage rather than avoidance. The simple act of showing up again and again, even when you do not feel like it, rewires your system. It teaches your nervous system and your habits that discomfort does not have to dominate you. You become resilient because you have practiced responding rather than fleeing. The more you confront discomfort, the more natural strength becomes. Discomfort also builds clarity and self-knowledge. When life is easy, it is difficult to see the edges of your limits. When you face resistance, you see where you are strong, where you are weak, and where improvement is required. Every uncomfortable situation is a mirror reflecting your readiness, your mindset, and your inner capacity. By embracing it, you learn not only what you are capable of, but also what patterns you need to adjust, what fears need to be confronted, and what habits need reinforcement. This self-knowledge is invaluable because it allows growth to be targeted, deliberate, and effective. You are no longer wandering aimlessly. Discomfort becomes the guide that shows you exactly where and how to strengthen yourself. Turning discomfort into strength also requires patience and persistence. Growth is not instant. The first few encounters with discomfort may feel overwhelming. You may feel like retreating, quitting, or doubting yourself. But strength is cumulative. Every moment you endure and act despite discomfort adds a layer of resilience that compounds over time. Over weeks, months, and years, these small acts of courage build an inner armor, a confidence that no external challenge can dismantle. The discomfort that once felt unbearable becomes familiar, manageable, and ultimately empowering. Finally, transforming discomfort into strength is a matter of mindset. It is the conscious decision to see adversity as opportunity, challenge as training, and struggle as progress. Every obstacle you face is not a roadblock, but a stepping stone. Every setback is not a failure, but a lesson. Every moment of tension is not a punishment, but a signal that you are being molded into a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of yourself. The mind that embraces this perspective no longer fears difficulty, no longer exhausts itself with avoidance, and no longer gets tired of its own journey. Strength becomes inevitable because you have learned to welcome the conditions that create it rather than fleeing from them. Discomfort is unavoidable. Life will not remove tension, challenge, or difficulty for your convenience. But you can choose how to respond. You can choose to let discomfort break you, or you can choose to let it make you. Each moment of resistance faced, each fear confronted, each challenge Endured adds to your inner power, resilience, and confidence. Turning discomfort into strength is not a skill you learn once. It is a lifelong practice of courage, presence, and self-mastery. Embrace discomfort, stand in it, grow through it. It is the forge where your strength is created. As we come to the close of this journey, remember that the path to never getting tired of yourself is not about fleeting motivation or sudden inspiration. It is about the quiet, consistent work of training discipline, observing your mind, taking small actions, building trust with yourself, and transforming discomfort into strength. Each day you show up, each choice you honor, each challenge you face is a step toward becoming the person you are meant to be. Life will test you, it will push you, and it will challenge your patience, but the strength, clarity, and resilience you build from within will always carry you forward. Trust yourself, stay present, and honor your journey, for it is unique and powerful beyond measure. Good luck on this path of growth and self-discovery. Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself and for being willing to stand with courage, even when it feels difficult. Your journey is yours to shape, and every step you take matters.